Welcome to Boris FX Live. Sponsored by Dell, Nvidia, and Intel.
Welcome everyone to Boris FX Live. I'm Ben Brownlee and you're joining us for a sports graphics extravaganza. We're going to be talking to motion graphics and VFX artist CM de la Vega about what it takes to make compelling graphics for clients like ESPN and the NFL. And we'll discover how he got into the industry and what you can do to improve your own skills. We'll also get taken behind CM's screen a little later and take a look at some shot breakdowns. Now, as always, it's going to be an interesting show and we're here for your questions and to give away some stuff. Actually, quite a bit of stuff today. So here's how you get involved. If you're watching on YouTube or on borisfxlive.com, you will see a lovely little chat window next to your viewer. So tippy tap your questions in there and we will get to as many of those as we possibly can. There is, of course, many reasons to be joining us on borisfxlive.com, not least the opportunity to win some stuff. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page, enter your email and details, you have a chance to win some of our big giveaways today. And what are we giving away? Well, I think I'm in a generous mood. So I'm going to be giving away a 1-year subscription to Sapphire that we're going to be taking a look at today. That's $495 value. And I'm also going to be giving away the big boy, the Boris FX Suite. So that's a 1-year subscription to Boris FX Suite, which is everything that we make, including Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and Optics. Everything going to one lucky winner today. Now, before we get too involved in our stream, I also want to say thank you to our sponsors who help to make this possible. So thank you very much to Nvidia, Dell and Intel for helping us to make this run smoothly as we possibly can. We are definitely knocking on wood for this one today. And I also want to give a big shout out to the Precision 3660 tower. It's been a while since I've talked about it, but you know, everyone thinks of it as cost-effective, scalable performance in a mini tower design. I like to think of it as John. All right, so thank you very much to Dell for helping to sponsor us today. All right, if you want to follow us live on the socials, you obviously can. You probably know that we have a YouTube channel. You probably don't know that we have 2 of them. So if you're not subscribed to both Boris FX and Boris FX Learn, now is the time to do it. We're also available on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And of course, we're also on Discord. So if you want to head over and join us on Discord to our growing community, go to discord.io/BorisFX or scan the little QR code with your phone. So yeah, we love Discord. Join us there. Alrighty, let's come back into it now. I think before we meet our guest, I want to say a big shout out to Brian in Mission Control. Brian, are you there?
Amazing.
Hello.
Amazing.
It's great. Do you know what? In the last few streams, we've gone from 1980s satellite technology to 2000 real player technology, and I think we're knocking on the door of 2020 at the moment with how the technology is progressing. So
I have no idea what you're talking about, Ben. I'm ready to move on. Want to apologize to everyone. Want to apologize to you, Ben, for our past technical difficulties. We have, I'm going to say it. We've solved it. Maybe. Now it's all. It's only taken us 50 shows to figure out how to live stream.
It's not bad.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see by the end of
we'll
this
see.
one. It's working. So I don't want to hold up too much time. So excited to get to see CM and his Sapphire work. But I do want to talk about some fun stuff coming up. And I apologize because I'm doing 2 things at once. So we have a big month coming up in April. There's lots of exciting stuff to talk about. But one thing, if you know, there's a big trade show. NAB trade show is happening third week in April. We will be at NAB. Let me cue up my graphic. Nick and Harry Frank in his first couple months, we are throwing him live right into the mix, live demos on the floor of NAB in the AMD booth, N2158. If you're going to NAB, stop by. These guys are going to be demoing 10 to 12 every day and 1 to 3. Now, why were we at the AMD booth? Okay, so this is exciting. We are about to go into public beta with Sapphire GPU acceleration on AMD GPUs. So if you're a Sapphire fan, you're on a Mac, you've been getting Metal acceleration. If you're on a PC and you have a NVIDIA GPU, you've been getting CUDA acceleration. But if you had an AMD GPU, Sapphire was going to work in CPU only mode. So for the first time, we are going to be showing a tech preview of Sapphire GPU acceleration on AMD GPUs. This is exciting. I kid you not, we have been working on this for 5 years, maybe. So lots of false starts, very complex project, but congratulations to the AMD team. They have done some great work, and we are seeing Sapphire GPU acceleration on AMD cards. The last thing I want to say is April's a big month for us. It's always a big month. NAB trade show. We usually have product releases in April, not a secret. Those are exciting coming up. And we have a special live stream coming up in 2 weeks. Mark your calendars. Tuesday, April 11th at 2 p.m. Ben, I can't even tell you what it's about. It's
I'm intrigued. I'm very much intrigued. I'm just going to be here for the ride.
Tune in. This is going to be fun. Super excited. 2 weeks from now, Tuesday, April 11th. Follow us on YouTube. That's the best way to know about our live streams. Sign up for our emails. But if you just subscribe to us on YouTube, when I get my act together and I get the stream up, you'll get a little ping. And mark your calendars now. Tuesday, April 11th, 2 p.m. Must see TV. All right, that's it from me. I won't hold the show up anymore.
We're making appointment viewing. This is this is good. This is what we're here for.
All right.
Ooh.
Back to you, right. Ben. I'm going to be quiet.
Thank you very much. All right. So without any more further ado, it's going to be a delight for me to introduce our guest today. Sim de la Vega is a Mograph and VFX artist who has translated his love for sports into a career creating sports graphics and promos. And then he's also decided to share that knowledge out into the world. So Sim, welcome to Boris FX Live.
Thank you. Thank you, amigos. Thank you for having me on the show. It's an honor to be here.
Oh, thanks very much for joining us. I'm a big fan of your work. We did a sort of it wasn't an Ask the Artist. It was a special sort of interview on the blog not so long ago with you, and that sort of piqued my interest. So, I think probably the first place to start is then, if you could just sort of tell us a little bit about what a typical project looks like for you.
Yeah, a typical project, it depends on the project. It depends if you're working on a documentary, for example, for ESPN at 30 for 30, or if you're working for the NFL. But I'll give you a quick example of a typical for the NFL. For my case, it was a hybrid position. It was editing and it was After Effects or motion graphics. So it's combining editing and graphics, motion graphics. And Monday, you get your assignments, you're looking for the footage, you're getting the best shots. Tuesday, you're starting to do your V1 of your edit. And for me, on Tuesday, really, I need to start working on the graphics as well, because it's heavy motion graphics. By Wednesday, you should have a solid cut. And Thursday's show day, I was working on Thursday Night Football. So definitely by Thursday morning, you should really just be doing the polishing, just tweaking those last graphics. And obviously, if if I'm doing editing and graphics, I'm always spending twice as much time doing the motion graphics and the editing.
Yeah, because I think with those sort of tight deadlines, were you ever kind of working right up to the wire?
Oh yeah, especially.
What would you like us to do? We're back. Okay.
No, no worries. Yeah,
Okay.
especially my first couple of years at the NFL, there was a couple of times I went down to the wire. The piece that I was working on would run at a specific time, and it came down to there's less than 5 or 10 minutes. But as the years went by, you get more, you find a rhythm, and you know at what point of what day you need to have your work at. And that way you can, if you need to spend extra time, let's say on a Monday or Tuesday, you need to spend some extra time after, working on it. That way you won't go to the wire as much as possible. Right. But there was times, especially the first couple of years. And then I learned early on to put more time on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Wednesday nights were brutal for me. I mean, those were the days where I probably was working until 11, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning, just to make sure that on Thursday, I would have my final piece done by noon. Noontime was like, that's it. That's really the cutoff time.
I mean, with that in mind, I think gone are the days of running down the corridors with a videotape in your hand. Like, what's the process for getting it up onto the playout server? Is it just literally a case of uploading it and then hoping for the best?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, everything the NFL is their own network, their own studio. So it's just sending it to play out, basically just putting it on their servers, and then the guys in play out in the control room, just queuing it up. Right. So it's not like, you got to run with the tape. It's a little more streamlined, but still, there is you're not cutting it down to the wire.
Yeah. Like being able to sort of budget your time on that sort of that sort of project. How does that affect the scope of what you're trying to do? If Monday's a little bit slow getting the edit together, what sort of knock-on effect does that have for you?
Yeah, and I think every season, so I worked a total of 6 seasons at the NFL, and I would always challenge myself every year I would challenge myself to go further, especially with the motion graphics. So every year it got more complex. My friends, my teammates would say, man, just make it easier on yourself. Don't kill yourself. But I would always try to push that envelope of what I can do creatively, especially with motion graphics, After Effects. And it wasn't always easy. It also depends on the scope of the project. There were some weeks where it's a little lighter. It wasn't so much involved. Some weeks, the assignments really demanded more intense motion graphic. But like I mentioned, it's finding that rhythm and knowing how much work to put in per day. So you're set up for success on a Thursday.
So if you look back to your early projects, I mean, what would you say the biggest differences are, compared to what you would do nowadays?
That's a really good question, Ben. That's a really good question. That's a really good question. I think I've been going with the trends. I try to especially for motion graphics. My first year was just trying to get my feet wet, right? And really understand the structure of how the NFL likes their hype videos, how they, there is a structure of how to edit their videos. And my first year was really understanding that structure, that method of how to construct that video. After I learned that process, really, it was now, let me put my creativity and really put my stamp. And I was just going with the trends. The last couple of years, my last couple of seasons, it was more towards VFX, adding VFX. For example, there's a shot of a running back. He turned into a panther, and then back into a running back. And it's just adding a lot of VFX. The player disappears. He's going to get tackled. He disappears, and then he reappears. And yeah, I've been just really going with the trends of VFX, of motion graphics, and trying to incorporate it in my videos.
Well, I mean, thinking about that then, are there any trends that you're sort of happy to say goodbye to?
Definitely the blotter media glowing lights. I think it's kind of trailing off. I know three years ago it was in high demand. It was funny. I did a tutorial on that, and everyone would ask me on Instagram, "Hey, can you do this for me?" I'm like, I just did the tutorial, guys, and I've used it a couple times. For the NFL, like it's a very time consuming. But I hope is trailing off. It was very popular for a couple of years, and off to the next trend.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it got hugely popular. I think we did a tutorial for it as well at some point. It was sort of inescapable. I think. Yeah. Well, let's wind back a little bit and talk a little bit about your history, because I'm always fascinated with where people come from, how they get started on the journey, and found their way onto the path. Can you talk a little just briefly about what drew you into broadcast and where you were before?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I reflect back on my journey, it's two parts. The part where I was in Miami and I wanted to get into film and TV industry, and the second half is, okay, I'm in LA. I made that huge move. I moved out of Miami, out of my comfort zone, and now it's like trying to break into the industry. And there's a couple, I guess, themes throughout my journey that I want to highlight before I go into it. For the viewers out there, because I know there might be viewers who maybe are students or trying to break into the industry or who are earlier in their careers. And these takeaways hopefully will give you all some inspiration. And number one is, I wrote it down here so I don't forget. So number one is, I actually was a little bit of a late bloomer. I didn't get my first job in the industry until my late 20s. So for those people who are worried about age, hey, I got in my late 20s. Don't worry about age. Just stay in your lane. Number two is, in order to grow, you need to get out of your comfort zone. And for me, that meant leaving Miami, going to LA. And also that could also mean going from one job to another job. That can also mean learning a new software, for example, After Effects, or learning a new plugin like Sapphire. And the third one is, the takeaway is preparation. Preparation meets opportunity. So you need to be prepared. When that opportunity arises, you're prepared. And for me, that meant having a demo reel. When I would, for example, if I would meet someone and I want to come in next week for an interview. One, I had my demo reel ready, to present. So be prepared when those opportunity arises. But I was always into art growing up, and when my dad bought our first computer back in the mid 90s, and it was a Pentium computer with Windows 95. It had Microsoft Paint, and I loved it. So that was my first introduction for when art meets technology. And when I'm going through my career, it feels like you're going in this direction, you're going in that direction. But when you look at it from a bird's eye view, it was always headed towards that intersection of art meets technology. And I guess Microsoft Paint, just drawing little cartoons on Microsoft Paint, was the first, that first intersection of art and technology. But I actually majored in computer engineering, and I thought I would take some classes combining art and computers, but it was the opposite. It was totally physics, calculus, electrical engineering, and computer science. But I did take a class in computer animation, one elective course in my junior year, and that kind of planted a little seed for me. But after I graduated from college is when I caught the filmmaking bug. And again, when I found out how to grab the footage from my dad's mini DV camera and connect it to my computer. And I can edit those little home movies, add little graphics, add little VFX. That again was art meeting technology. And that really led me to just, hey, let me make a feature film. And me being young and naive, I thought I could go to make a feature film in my home country in Nicaragua, teamed up with my cousin. And the plan was to make a foreign feature film and go to, walk into LA and get hired right away. And yeah, I mean, just being young and naive, that's you have high hopes, you have a lot of dreams, and it's good to have those dreams. But we didn't know, we were learning how to film, how to direct, how to edit, produce. We were learning everything as we went. And it ended up being the best film school that anyone can have because you're in it and you're presented with many obstacles. It took us 3 months to finish it. And once I was done, went back to Miami. It took me a year to edit, went through several versions and send it off to film festivals. And you get those letters like, no, I'm sorry, you're not, your film wasn't selected. So I shelved it, put it in a Nike box and shelved it. And about a year later, met a filmmaker, became friends with a filmmaker. And he said, and I showed him my movie and he said, look, it's really raw, but it shows tremendous potential. He says, show it to people. And then I, took his advice and I hit the streets of Miami and I actually sold about 3,000 copies of the DVD of the movie, literally out of my backpack, just hustling every single day. I would press the DVDs and in the afternoons, I would just go out, sell the copy. But two things happened. Number one, I was able to, pay back, all the expenses for the movie. And number two was it caught the attention of different artists, musicians in Miami, which led to directing their music videos. And when I did their music videos, I would direct, edit, do a bunch of graphics and visual effects. And finally, I made that decision to make that big leap to go to LA, which was huge because it was back in 2007. Now I think it's a little easier because you have smartphones, you have, you have Airbnb, you have Waze, you have Google Maps. Before then I got a cell phone the day before I left LA, and it wasn't even a smartphone. And I had printouts of the maps of different areas of LA, like Venice, Santa Monica, Hollywood. And I had researched about 50 different companies that were specializing in music videos. And my idea was to go there and hit them up. And I had previously sent out a package with my reel, a letter and my resume, telling them I would be there in 2 weeks to follow up. And when I arrived to LA, it was really knocking on doors, 50 companies knocking on doors to see if they have any opportunities for work. But unfortunately, you know how it is. It's really tough. None of the doors opened once I arrived. And, I just literally came with a little suitcase, my backpack, my camera, and that's it. And it's like, let's figure it out in LA, and that was the start of my journey. 5 months later, my brother came to visit with some of his buddies, met up with him, and one of the friends was living in LA, was working for a production company. And he said, hey, we're actually, where I'm working at, we need a motion graphic artist. Let me get you an interview. So I got the interview, and obviously I didn't have any professional experience, but I had a demo reel prepared, and it was a reel of all the music videos that I'd done for the artist in Miami. And I showed him and he said, hey, you know what? I like it. Let me give you an opportunity. And that was my start. And it was using After Effects. And I didn't even know how to use After Effects at all. But it was my coworker, the other colleague of mine who was there already. He got me up and running in no time. And then after that is every single day would be just watching tutorials, Andrew Kramer video Copilot tutorials every day after work. And then on weekends, it would be just using what I've learned and applying it, in different examples, just practicing. And from there, you just, keep working, you go on your different ways and you just keep grinding.
So, I mean, I think what really stuck out to me there is that, or what actually struck a chord with me as well was, the fact that even though you don't have any professional experience with it. What you did was you gave yourself your sort of own film school by actually going out and making mistakes, and figuring things out. So rather than sort of just there is a limit to what you can learn just by watching a tutorial without going and trying it afterwards. What was that experience like? What were the big lessons that you learned there, especially at the beginning, where you don't know what you don't know?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and sometimes it becomes overwhelming once you realize, man, I don't. It becomes overwhelming when you realize it's a lot to learn, but it's really taking it one little step at a time, knowing, well, let me learn one little technique, or let me learn one little effect, and then tomorrow or next week, let me learn another effect, and let me see if I can put them together, or another technique. And I think it's having that mindset where it's a process, it's a journey. It's really a journey of a decade or a couple decades to really be good at something or master a craft. The people who are really good at the craft, they've been doing it for many, many years, for decades. And it's just having that mindset and having patience with yourself as well, knowing that, okay, just let me learn one little thing today, and tomorrow I'll learn one, it's something else.
Yeah, I think that's really, really, really important to remember as well, is that you're not going to learn everything in one day. You can't, and you're not going to know anything or everything at the start. So I think one of the things that I've learned as well is that, like, you get better at problem solving. This is what people do, and the reason you get better at problem solving is because you start to see the same problems coming time and time again, and so you know sort of how to fix those. But you also, when you sort of get a new problem, you can start to kind of blend different techniques together, and that's sort of where your own individual, or where one's own individual style sort of starts to break through, I think. I mean, with that in mind, were you conscious about developing a style of your own, or was that something that just sort of came about?
Yes, definitely. And I think I hear that among a lot of artists, that they don't want to copy other people. They want to develop their own style. But I think at the beginning, like I mentioned, I was just watching a lot of Video Copilot tutorials, and just really copying, literally keyframe by keyframe, what was on that video tutorial. But after a while, like you mentioned, Ben, once you have a little more experience and you've learned several techniques, then your creativity can just start making those connections. And I think out of that comes your own style. And it takes some time as well. So an advice I would give to, like, young creators, young artists is, by just copying, imitating other people, just so you can learn the technique, but keep practicing, and just keep practicing. And hopefully out of that passion, out of that love, and just practicing, you'll start to develop your own style. Once you can really learn and master the techniques, because you'll be able to pull different techniques, and you'll start being more creative, start thinking of, like, hey, I can do this, I can do that.
Well, it's also, I mean, that it's a similar sort of thing with, learning music, a sort of musical style, instead of just, becoming a cover band for one particular artist. You sample lots of different people and different bands, and you forward. And I mean, and that's sort of very similar to how I think, like, some of the best creative people I've seen, you can see the history in some of their work, but they've taken it to a completely different place than you would otherwise think. And that's what I think is really exciting about this sort of work is that it does offer you a chance to take a problem and keep reinventing it and iterating and finding something new and creative. I mean, going back into training a little bit. You were watching a lot of Video Copilot stuff, and I think that's something that has definitely changed. Very very much in the last probably in the last 10 years or so, is that the amount of good quality training that's available online has grown exponentially. How important is it for you to kind of help the next generation, or to teach the next generation?
Yeah, that first job that I got in the industry, that colleague of mine who really got me up and running in After Effects, Tommy, that's his name. I think learning from him, and he never saw it as a threat. Oh, this new guy is going to take over my job. He was always willing to listen to me, always willing. Hey, I have, Tommy, I got this question. How do you do this in After Effects? He would always stop his work and help me and figure it out, and I think that I picked up on that, and like, hey, this guy is he's a veteran, he's skilled in his craft, but yet he was always willing to help me out no matter how silly the question was. And from that point, it was always in the back of my mind, if I have an opportunity to share the knowledge, to give back the knowledge that I know, the techniques, I'm always willing to share what I know. And yeah, I have a little YouTube channel, and for the years, but I think it was instilled in my first job at one colleague of mine, friend of mine, who kind of was always giving back his knowledge and kind of mentoring.
I mean, you've got a YouTube channel, which hopefully the link is being pasted into the chat as we speak. I mean, why did you originally start that? Was it for teaching, or was it for showing off some of the other work you were doing?
You know what? To be honest with you, Ben, I didn't have any intentions of opening the channel. It was really just to help out a friend who needed a video, and I decided to do a tutorial. And that's why I uploaded that video. It was just really to help out a friend. And it was a little graphic that I did for a documentary. But the crazy thing is, the YouTube community responded very well. There were comments that people were leaving saying, this is a great tutorial, thank you so much. And they were posting the link to the work that they had done based on the tutorial that I did. And I would look at it, and I was really surprised, like, wow, they were able to follow the steps that I showed them in the video, and they were able to use that and create their own creation. And that really gave me motivation to continue. And over the years, I would do a little more. And really, it was the YouTube community, the community itself, that would just encourage me to put out videos, and they would always share what they would learn from the videos. So I think that would motivate me to try to give as much, share back as much knowledge that I had back to the community.
Yeah, I mean, there's some great videos up there. Like there's techniques up there that you've obviously used in how's the audio going here? We're still live. Okay. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think what I was just saying was like taking the time to break down your commercial work, and then repackage it up for into a tutorial is just it's really nice to see, and like it's high quality work, of course. Like the I mean, the last little thing I want to do before we actually start to look at your work and break down some of your.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Ben. Yeah. So what I found out, what I discovered with myself, my journey learning After Effects was it took a while because I was learning, pieces here and there from different tutorials, but it wasn't really until I started doing the YouTube to force me to really learn After Effects. And once I really understood how the techniques and the tools work, my skill level in After Effects really rose up. And I realized that learning After Effects in a sequential order, learning how the tools and the technique all work together, having that synergy is really crucial to really understanding and mastering. It's a step-by-step instructional video teaching you the fundamental tools of After Effects, that synergy between the tools, the techniques, to really allow your imagination to think of, an idea and execute it. Because a lot of times we're watching, there's a lot of great tutorials out there, and I've learned a lot from them, and I know a lot of people, but it teaches you maybe one or two things in a specific area. But you want to combine, you really want to learn the technique when you have an idea and you don't have to rely on a tutorial. You know what tools, what techniques to bring in from your knowledge, from your experience, and put together that idea that you have. So that's what my course offers. There's 3 levels: level 1, beginners, intermediate, and advanced. And it's a lot of the tools, the workflows that I've used throughout the years, and especially that I've used at the NFL.
No, it's really, really cool. I would recommend people just to check him out if you're whatever level of After Effects you are at the moment. Just have a little root around and see if there's something that catches your fancy, because it's definitely worth looking at some more sort of structured training. That's always the best way to take things to the next level. CM, we're going to take a very small break here. We are going to put chewing gum in our audio cables because I think we'll see if that will fix it. And we're going to give away some stuff as well. So please stick around. We'll come back and we'll take a look at some of your shots in just a moment, if that's all right.
Perfect.
Excellent. All right, well, you are watching Boris FX Live. I am Ben Brownlee. We are talking to CM de la Vega about promo and sports graphics. And we're going to give away some stuff. If you're enjoying what you're seeing, we're not okay. If you're enjoying what we're doing at the moment, please give us a little thumbs up. We don't need both thumbs. We just need a single thumb on YouTube. It's you nothing. And we're really appreciative of it. What I also want to do is just let you know of some of the other stuff that we have got coming up a little bit later. We are going to be obviously talking with CM de la Vega a bit more and looking at some of his work. If you have questions for him, please tippity tap those into the chat box at the moment, and I will have a little look at those in just a moment, and we'll start to collate them into what is now known as my famous pieces of paper. All right. So if you let's take a little look now then at are we ready for a prize, or should we? Well, I'll tell you what we'll do then. Let's start winding up the giant tombola of doom, which is where we have collated all of the entries into today's prizes. So how did you enter the competition? Well, you just went to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and filled out the little form there. So we're going to be giving away an annual subscription to Sapphire to one lucky winner now. And what we're going to do is I'm going to try to turn the tombola using the power of my mind and I will draw a name out of the hat. Maybe Mission Control can give me a heads up on what that name is going to be. So we are going to be rolling the tombola. We're rolling it, and it is John Brown. Is it John Brown? I believe it is John Brown who has won. Congratulations, John. Well done. Woo. Hopefully we've got lots and lots of applause going on in the background. We'll be in contact with you within the next 24 hours to tell you how to claim your prize. If you aren't the winner, never fear, because we are going to be giving away Boris FX Suite towards the end of the stream as well. So that is everything that we make, including Sapphire, Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and Optics. So stick around for that, and let's go back. So keep your questions coming. And what I would like to do is head back to talk to Sim. Sim, are you still here?
Yes, I'm still here.
Excellent. Well, let's start taking a look at a couple of the shots then and see what you got.
Cool. All right, let's. You guys can all see my After Effects project.
I'm getting a big thumbs up. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All righty then. I've prepped a couple of examples for you all, and they're very easy. They're practical to use, so you can for your very own projects and really take it to that next level. And let me do a couple of things right here so I have more space here in After Effects. Okay, let me show you. This is the first example, and opening day is tomorrow. I'm a big Marlins fan, being here from Miami, and this is Sandy Alcantara, the reigning Cy Young winner. And I used Sapphire Zap to create this. This is using Ultra Zap and then Zap for the ball. And let me give you a quick breakdown and a little step-by-step on how to do that. Okay, let me go to my footage. We'll bring it to the comp icon, and I'm going to trim the area. This is the clip. Let me trim, right click, and trim comp to work area. Now, Sapphire Zap works. You can apply it on your footage, or you can apply it on a solid layer. So what I'm going to do is hit Control-Y or Command-Y if you're using a Mac. We'll make it comp size, and we'll make it black. Hit OK. And I'll rename this to Zap. And I'll leave it selected, but I'll hide this layer. Now I'll go to the pen tool. And what we want to do is just draw the path of the ball with the pen tool. And I'm going to just make a path. And what I'm going to do is I'll change the color so you can see it better on screen. And then we'll tweak the path. Let's see. So it goes a little higher. I'm going to move this point. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect. Just try to get there, get it close as much as you can. This looks pretty good. And then now what I'm going to do is going to apply Zap. And we'll go to Sapphire Render. And I'll go down here. And there is a family of Zap. There's Ultra Zap, which is the latest one, has amazing features. That's why I guess it's called Ultra. And they have Zap, Zap From, and Zap 2. And I recommend just messing around with all of them because they'll give you a great look. For this one, we'll use S Zap. And let's bring back this layer so you can see what it's doing. And by default, we have this electricity, and we can move these little widgets, and we can move it wherever we want, which is really cool. We can also make it 3D. It's like a fake 3D, but it's really cool. And this is the method that I use for this Leo Messi World Cup goal. And I'll give you a quick breakdown right after that one. But that was using the 3D for Zap. And you can also choose follow path. And that's what we'll do because we created a path. And let me go up, and it's mask 1. If I just rename it to ball path, you'll see that it's selected. If it's not selected, select your mask or your path. And what I'll do now is go down to combine, and I'll switch it to zap only so we can see the zap. All right, I'm gonna zoom in here. And there's a couple of properties that we'll adjust. Number one is a width. We'll make it a little thinner. We'll make it 4. The glow color, we'll switch it to red to match his uniform. We can increase the number of bolts. We can, for example, make it 3. For this one, we'll leave it at 2. And the end, we can kind of taper out the end. And this is a really cool parameter, the curve amp. You can give it curvature, but we'll leave it at the default setting. Now let's animate this. We want to animate this lightning bolt. And then when Sandy is about to release it, we'll start the animation. We'll go to the length. We'll click on the stopwatch to add a keyframe, hit U on the keyboard so we can see this keyframe. I'll trim the endpoint of this layer, Alt right bracket or Option right bracket if you're using an Apple computer. And then let's move forward. Let's add another keyframe. Now we'll go back to the first one and we'll make it 0. And let's check it out. If you need to adjust the keyframes, adjust the keyframe. Now what we need to do is we need to animate this out. And to do that, we'll use the start offset. We'll click on the stopwatch, hit U again so we can see that keyframe. Be cool. And if we play this back, this is what we get. Now, let me quickly give you a breakdown of how I did this version of Zap around Sandy Alcantara. And the first step that you need to do is you need to rotoscope the player. And this is my roto layer. I'll solo this one. And I simply use roto brush. That's all I did. Just use roto brush. And it's not even a perfect roto, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now, once you have a rotoscope, what you'll do is adjust the work area to the length of your roto layer. You'll go up to layer, go to auto trace, and then we'll select work area. We'll select alpha because we want the alpha channel and apply it to a new layer. Make sure that is checked and hit OK. I'm going to cancel it because I already did it. And this is, let me show you the layer that it created. So it created a solid layer with this mask. Now, when you apply it to your own footage, you may have more than one mask. Just find that main mask that has a silhouette around your athlete. That's the only one that we need. And then from there, apply Ultra Zap. And then what I'll do is I'll quickly go to Ultra Zap. I'll show you what Ultra Zap is doing. Definitely I recommend going to the presets, applying a preset, and then just modifying the parameters. But one of the cool features, again, of Zap is that you can choose a path. And once you choose Ultra Zap AE path, it'll ask you which path do you want to select. In this case, I labeled it Sandy Outline. And it's around our silhouette, our roto layer. And if you notice, it's actually moving. And there's a cool parameter. If we go to bolt animation, there is a parameter called loop speed. And what that will do is it'll animate that electricity around your mask. Now, if you have it a value of 1, it'll do 1 full revolution in 1 second. I have it a little over 1, so it's going a little faster. And that is it. You just composite that, and this is the final effect. Let me quickly show you the Leo Messi. Let me show you what I did for the Leo Messi goal. And that is using S-Zap and just using the 3D. I'll show you the keyframes. So you have a start XY and you have an end XY, which is this little widget. And I added a couple keyframes. The camera moves a little bit towards the end. And I could have tracked it. Maybe I could have tracked it in Mocha, but this is something just a simple move that I added a couple keyframes. Nothing fancy, just a very simple keyframe, kind of mimic that move. And what I also did is animated the length to follow the ball. And remember to trail it off to end it. You're going to use the start offset. So very simple. And just applied, 3 bullets and just change the parameters. But hopefully, amigos, this gives you a good starting point, enough knowledge to get started using Zap. Now, let me jump. I don't know if there's any questions out there for Zap.
That's really cool. I was actually just about to jump in. I mean, there's and I love what you were doing there, like the combination of the roto brush to actually turn that into a path. That's actually a really nice and fast way of of doing that. When it comes to Ultra Zap or to any of these effects here, like how important are the presets to you? Do you often find yourself starting with a preset and then tweaking from there, or are you building everything from scratch?
No, I mean, almost everything that I do is starting from a and it'll do 90, maybe 90, even 99% of the work, and then just tweaking a couple of parameters. As I'll show you a couple more examples. There are, for example, the lighting, the Sapphire effects for the lighting category. There's a couple parameters that will do 80% of the work for you. And then from there is like, if you want to go into that, go that extra mile to really tweak it, you can. But definitely the presets, I always go with the presets. And a lot of the default presets as well are really good to start out with. And from there, just adjusting the parameters.
That's cool. That's really good to hear, because, obviously here as a team, we do put a lot of thought and effort into the presets. It's lovely to hear they're actually being used. So I'll leave you with that then.
Awesome. No, it's a great job, guys, of doing the presets. It's really helpful for those who are new into Sapphire. Definitely start out with the presets. Let me show you the second example. I'll go to the render and I'll show you this one. Let me see. Make this smaller. Now, this type of effect works well for those impact sports. For example, football, UFC. In this example, you can use it for MMA, like I mentioned, UFC, boxing. You can also use it for maybe basketball for a slam dunk. You can use it for baseball when the batter hits the ball. Just use your imagination. But really, there are 2 effects that will really drive most of this, and I'll show you. And there's a couple other effects that I added in, just kind of like the icing on the cake. And let me grab the footage. I'll bring it in, and I'll bring it to the comp icon. And let me trim. And then right here, when the poor guy is going to get his face hit, I'm going to add an adjustment layer. And I'll trim this adjustment layer right here. Okay, like I mentioned, there are 2 effects or plugins that will really do most of the work, and it's under the distort category. We'll be using Warp Chroma for chromatic aberration, and we'll be using Warp Repeat. So let's start with Warp Repeat. And for steps, we'll control how many times you want to see this image. You can make it 5 times, but to be honest with you, most of the times I'm sticking with 2 or 3. And you have this parameter from Z distance and to Z distance. And the from will control the image that's inside this red box. And the to Z distance controls what's inside this green box. And what we'll do is we'll make both of them 1. So they're on top of each other. And then we'll add a keyframe for the to Z distance. Hit U on the keyboard to see this keyframe. And I'll go to right here to 11, and I'll make a value of 0.4. Let's check it out. So there, right off the bat, you're getting this really cool effect. If you want, like I mentioned, you can increase the number of steps. Personally, I like using 2. Now, let's trim this layer, the out point, alt right bracket or option, I believe it's option right bracket if you're using an Apple computer. And what we'll do is we'll fade this out and hit T for opacity. And one of the things that I like when using the Sapphire plugins is applying them on an adjustment layer, because you can use the opacity to really control the intensity of the effect. And we'll just simply fade this out, and it'll fade out the intensity. Okay, now this is really icing on the cake, but we'll add a couple more. Where is it? Distort. We'll add shake, and this will give it a shake. It's a little too much. We'll just dial down the amplitude to 0.2. And I know I'm a big fan of using the wiggle expression in After Effects, and I've done a tutorial on using wiggle. But sometimes when it's crunch time and you need to shave even 3 minutes, typing in the wiggle expression and adding expression controls to animate it, just add the shape. It really will really do the work for you. Okay, let's add another effect. This one will be from lighting, and we'll add glint. And then we'll go to the load preset. And like I mentioned, I was telling Ben that a lot of these, I'll start from the presets. So let's give it a time. Let's give it a little bit of time. There we go. And then I'll select this one. The feature is bright. I'll hit load. Now, when you're using several of the effects from the glow or the lighting category, there's pretty much 2 parameters that'll do most of the work for you. Number 1 is threshold, and the second one is brightness. And this one, I can bring up the threshold, it'll dial it down, and we can play around with the brightness. So those 2 parameters will do a lot of the work for you. For the size details, and I'll do a couple little tweaks. For the Y, I'll just make it 1, and the diagonal for the second diagonal, I'll increase this. And let's see what we have. And we'll animate this. So we'll go to the threshold, we'll add a keyframe, we'll hit U so we can see this keyframe. Then I'll add another keyframe and then jump back to the first one, and then we'll make this a value of 1. And if we play this back, this is what we have so far. Okay, now let's add chromatic aberration. What I'll do is I'll make a copy of this adjustment layer, Control D or Command D to make a copy. What I'll do is I'll delete these effects, and we'll go back to Effect to Distort, and then we'll go to Warp Chroma. And then again, we're gonna use a preset. We'll use this one where it says chromatic aberration strong. I'm gonna hit load. Now this applies chromatic aberration to the entire image, and we just want it for the outer edges. So what I'll do is I'll go to the ellipse tool and just simply make a mask. And let's go back to our timeline. Now we want it on the outside. So let's hit inverted, and let's feather this mask, hit MM to go to the mask properties, go to the feather, and then we'll feather it maybe around 250 pixels. And there you go. And this is a good technique for those shots that you want impact. This could work really well with a speed ramp. You have it going fast, then slow it down for the impact, then you ramp it up again at the end.
That it never gets easier to watch. It's always a big boom in every single time I see that shot. You were showing some stuff that's kind of quite close to my heart there. I mean, you found the that little triumvirate of effects that you put together, with the shake and the warp repeat and the chromatic aberration with the warp colors. Warp chroma, sorry. And that's a really, really useful one for adding sort of a nice big kind of glitchy impact to any sort of shot. And it's also a nice, I don't know whether you've explored the builder, but that's a way of putting all of those effects all into one effect. So, if you're using that kind of effect quite a bit, you can actually create your own custom one that only exposes the effects or the parameters that you need. I'm not sure whether that's something you've actually explored too much.
To be honest with you, I haven't, but I think that's one of the great things, one of the beautiful things about Sapphire, that it's so robust, so complete. There's so many plugins, and it has that builder, like you mentioned, Ben, to once you find an effect that you want to apply it over and over to, different shots or over the course of the season. The builder, that's for me, that's the next step. Putting these shots together in Sapphire's builder.
Oh, what I also thought was, very, very powerful is the fact that you identified that with a lot of these effects, like there's so many things that you can do with it, but straight out of the box, there are usually two parameters that actually control like the major look with it all. And it's often things like threshold and brightness, or those kind of ideas. Wherever you see threshold and brightness, whether it's in glint or glow or ultra glow, it's always a great place to start, just to do your initial tweaking. I think that's it's definitely good to underline that.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got a couple of questions from chat though. Some people were sort of they follow like your your trajectory in the same sort of way. There's quite a few people who are saying that they were being educated by in motion graphics by YouTube University, which is always quite fun now. And someone also said that they landed a job at Miami Heat by following your tutorials, which I think is awesome to hear. And there's one question was asking, like, how did you find your mentor? Was that something you sought out in in the area you were interested in, or was that just something that happened as a case of where you were working?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And having a mentor I think is really valuable. And to find a mentor, I think that colleague of mine was kind of like a mentor figure to me to get started in After Effects, but I didn't really have that mentor figure in motion graphics or in After Effects that I wish I would have. A lot of the times when I would get hired to work on these, I was really the only graphics guy, the only guy that knew how to do After Effects or had knowledge in After Effects. A lot of my, my mentor figures are more in the director, the producers, that type of mentor are the mentor figures that I have in the industry, more of the director producer. But for After Effects, unfortunately, I didn't have that mentor. I guess you can say maybe, in a way, you can also say the videos on, the Video Copilot videos was a form of mentorship, right? Just really learning from them. But unfortunately, I didn't have that mentorship I wish I would have. But definitely for those young artists, young people who want to break in, try to look out, search for those mentors and and reach out to them and see. I recently launched my company, and hopefully soon will be there will be opportunities for mentorship. And this is something in my heart to mentor. But when the time comes, hopefully soon, we can provide opportunities, jobs, and mentorships as well.
That's really cool. We'll yeah, definitely keep us in the loop on that. Yeah, I think if you do have any more questions, please type them into chat, people, and we'll get to some more in the next section. So yeah, let's take a look at the next shot if you've got time still.
Yeah, definitely. I have two more. Excuse me. I have two more shots, and this one I'm gonna show some of my favorite, at least color correction effects that you can use for Sapphire. And this is a clip. This is one of the things working at the NFL is we use a lot of broadcast footage, and they're not, they don't have a lot of contrast. They're not really saturated, and they definitely need you need to give it a little love to the footage and to make it stand out, but you don't want to go overboard. And one of my favorite effects from Sapphire to just really quickly give it a little more contrast and saturation is the vintage color 3-strip. And if I apply it, actually I'm using one of the presets. So what I'll do is I'll delete it and I'll show it to you. We'll load it up. It's in the stylize, it's all the way in the bottom. And I found myself using this a lot. Now I'm applying it directly to the footage. You can also apply it to an adjustment layer. And the advantage, like I mentioned before, is when you apply it to an adjustment layer, you can lower the opacity, which lowers the intensity. And just by applying it, you can see that there's more contrast. The colors are brighter. Now it might be for some people, it might be perhaps a little too saturated. For example, the first down marker, and right here, the third down marker, it's a little hot, but you can always dial it down a little bit if you want. And there's a saturation right here if you want to dial it down just a little bit. Personally, I like it a lot. I would really apply it to an adjustment layer and maybe drop down the opacity a little bit, but they all check out. There's really cool presets here that you can check out. They have this Miami vintage color. And another effect, what I'll do is I'll reset it. And another effect is film damage. And I'll delete it, but I'll apply it so you can see where it is in stylize, and I think it's up here. To treat your footage to give it that film look for your footage. I think it has the right balance between grain, stain, dust, hairs, scratches. Just the default preset by itself is, in my opinion, it's really great. You can obviously tweak the parameters if you want more grain, if you want. And also the presets, I found that the presets are pretty cool as well. And if you want to stylize your footage and give it that film look, definitely go to film damage. It's one of my favorite ones. It's the one that I'm always looking for when I want to apply a film type of look. And the last one, for the last example, what I'll do is it'll be more motion graphics, and we'll create a new comp. And these are, very simple standard specs, broadcast specs, 1920, 1080, 2997. And I'll make it 5 seconds long for now. And what I'll do is I'll create a solid layer. And a lot of times, maybe you need to create a title card or a sports ident, and you need a background. And what am I going to do for the background? What type of background am I going to use? Let me download a texture. Well, Sapphire has you covered. You can create textures in Sapphire. You should definitely check out their render. I mean, you can even create a moon. It's amazing what you can do. But this one, we'll go to S Grunge, and we'll go to the presets, and we'll use, since Brian is on right here with us, we'll go and use one of his presets. We're going to load it. And what I really like about S-Grunge is that it's composed of 3 different layers of textures. And we'll go down and I'll quickly show you. The first one, the stamp 1, right now is set to frost. If we select none, we'll see the second layer behind it, and that is using clouds. If we set it to none, there's nothing else because the last one is set to none. What I'll do is I'll undo. And they got really nice, let me undo. Definitely play around with the different options that they have. It's really cool. Now, one thing that I really like is to give your background maybe a very subtle movement. And you can do that by keyframing the size. What I'll do is make sure that your CTI is at the beginning, and we'll go to stamp 1 relative size, and we'll make it 0.8. Hit U on the keyboard to see that keyframe. We'll go all the way to the very end, and we'll give it a value of 1.2. And we'll check it out. Let's play back. And personally, I really like this effect. It looks really cool. When you composite other layers, you'll see that it works really well. It's just giving it a subtle move. Okay, I'll change the color, and what we'll do is I'll bring in this little shot, and I've been messing around with stable diffusion. If you're into AI art, you know what stable diffusion is. Let's key it out. We'll go to keying, and we'll go to linear color key, and I'm also working on a series for stable diffusion. Hopefully that'll be out hopefully next week, if not the following week. We can composite, messy here. And then what we'll do is we'll create an adjustment layer. And then we'll add one of my favorite stylized effects from Sapphire, and that is halftone color. And I think I like it because it reminds me of the Sunday comics. I would wake up every Sunday to read the comic strip, Peanuts, Garfield, Calvin and Hobbes. And at one point I wanted to be a cartoonist. And I think it just reminds me of the Sunday funnies. Now what we'll do is the dots sharpen. We'll bring it down so it's not too sharp. And since we have it on an adjustment layer, what we can do is we can change the blending mode. Play around with the blending mode. For now, I'll put soft light. And again, you can play with the opacity to increase or decrease the intensity of the effect. And what I'll do is I'll create a mask. Let's see. Let's go back to the mask. We'll invert it. And because we only want it at the edges, hit MM to go to the mask properties, and we'll give it a feather of, let's make it 300. Now this is a start, amigos. This is very simple, but this is a good start to create a background. Obviously we can create text. I'll show you the example that I have here, World Champs. This is the one that I created. And I did add, I believe I added chromatic aberration at the edges. And definitely is a starting point. If you want to add more layers, other teammates, you can add particles, you can add light leaks, whatever. But I think this is a really good way to incorporate grunge, Sapphire grunge, and use it as a background for these title cards that you may have to work with. You know, if you need to do a title card or something, this is a good way to create these backgrounds and give it a little subtle animation.
Great job.
It's really cool. It's nice to see. I know Brian wants to jump in
Of course. I mean, you used my
talk about his
preset.
preset.
So happy, so honored. Cold as ice. You know, that was my yeah, that was my favorite one. Now, love grunge though. I mean, it's so useful. Anything from the classic grunge to paint splotches to ice, like you showed. Um, Really cool, really deep effects, like all Sapphire effects, like you were mentioning earlier. This is what I love about them. You can get into grunge, and you can grunge up a shot like with some, rusty rock or wood, but then you can get into ice and paint. It's just so deep. Just really like just get in there and play around like you're doing and get all these different multiple looks. Love all the stuff you've done though. Great use of Sapphire. Great pro use. Um, Really taking your footage to the next level. Beautiful stuff.
Yeah, it makes me realize I've been sleeping on grunge for too long. Like I've not used it nearly as much as I'm meant to. It's really cool stuff. Really, really nice. What it also shows is that, like, even though you're saying that, you can still start building stuff up on this. Well, coming back to what we were talking about right at the start, because everyone's on such short deadlines, if you had to, go with this, then you've actually already built up something that is perfectly workable in just a short amount of time.
Definitely. And one of the things that I realize is that sometimes less is more. We tend to overanalyze or overthink the idea, and sometimes we want to add layers and layers and layers of whatever, text or footage or textures. And sometimes the producer, I'll be honest with you, I have producers that are not really big fan of motion graphics. They want something clean and simple. And sometimes less is more. And this could work for some producers. Some producers, I love it. Let's go with it. Let's roll with it. There might be some producers, let's add a little bit more. Let's add a couple more layers and some particles or whatever. But sometimes less is more. And some producers really like a clean look. They don't want too many layers, too much going on in the screen.
And I suppose that's your, that's your job as well as the artist at the end of it, to actually facilitate those ideas and give them what they want at the end of the day.
Definitely. And for example, at the NFL, I would always push the envelope, and if they needed for me to dial it down a little bit, they would tell me dial it down less, take that. But I would always try to give them as much as I could. And then from there, whatever, the producer, their notes, it was just like, okay, remove this or remove that. But yeah, try to give them as much as you can. And from there, if they need to dial it down a little bit, we just turn the little knob and dial it down a little bit.
That's it. I mean, you never know where the limit is until you've stepped over that little border. So,
exactly,
pulling it back at that point.
Exactly. I think it's better to overperform, to overdo, and then for them to take out, because the worst thing is, I think it's better to do that versus the other method where it's not enough. And the reason is they're not artists, so they don't really understand how to translate what may be in their heads and explain it to you what they want. So it's better to overperform, to overdo it, and for them, like, okay, just remove maybe this layer or this layer, remove that, versus the other way where it's like they're trying to explain it to you, and sometimes it won't work.
Such great advice. Such great advice. I mean, you're really getting at being a good partner, right? Like, you're brainstorming live. You're not afraid to create. You're not afraid to push the limits. I would much rather work with someone who's in that mentality than trying to push someone farther and say, like, what else can we do? What else can we do? Because you're right. Sometimes as a producer, you have no idea what you want to do, but I know it when I see it, or I know that looks beautiful. So much better advice to say, pull it back, but let your partner know, or let whoever you're working with where you have the potential to take it. Like, that's words of wisdom there.
Yeah. One other question that's just popped in now is have you ever gotten the chance to help with video production as it's being filmed, or is all of your work post-production? So you get the material and and figure out what to do with it at that point?
Yeah, definitely. Early in my career in LA, I was doing a lot of on the field video production, doing the cinematography, doing the shooting. A friend of mine and we did a lot of boxing videos for AOL, and we were there. We were like our own producers, those multi-role where you're producing, you're shooting, and then you're editing what you shot. So I've done that. Really, the last, I think, 8 years, I've really more focused in post-production, more in editing, more in motion graphics. I've really kind of settled down, just settling down more in post-production. But earlier in my career, I was doing a lot on the field. And it's good. I think it's good to really do a little bit of everything so you can really see what you like, and everything helps out. When I would shoot, we would get ideas like, hey, knowing VFX or knowing motion graphics helps out when you shoot, because you know what you can do, or some effects, you can take that ahead of time and kind of game plan, some shots, knowing that you might, you're going to experiment with that in post-production, and vice versa. So I think it's really good to be disciplined and at least try out the different areas of production. And especially for a young artist or a young person trying to break in, definitely I think it's good to try them all out and really see which one you like. Like, I didn't know motion graphics was a career. I mean, I set out to LA to really get into directing. Like I mentioned, I had made the best home feature length action film in Nicaragua, and thinking I was gonna, walk into Hollywood and get jobs directing. But I fell into motion graphics, and I discovered, hey, that is an intersection of art and technology. I really, really like this. This is awesome. This is amazing. And I've been able to make it a career, just doing After Effects and also editing. So definitely try different things and see which one you like, and you'll fall into something that you really love.
That's fantastic advice for people who are just starting out in this career as well. You're like, you don't know that there's so many disciplines here. You're never going to be 100% sure which is the right one for you until you've tried a couple out for size, and having that idea, having the multidiscipline understanding more about light and how things work, that's always going to make you a better all-round artist in the end. I think that's fantastic advice. I want to say, like, thanks very much for for showing us this stuff. We are going to have to start to wrap things up a little bit. If you're in the audience and you haven't done so already, and if you've liked the conversation we've had so far, hit the little thumbs up button for us on YouTube. It does help us out quite a bit. The YouTube algorithm is a mysterious beast, but it feeds on these things. So the more we get of those, the happier the YouTube beast is going to be. We are also going to be doing our last bit of giveaways as well. But I think what I want to do now is, I'm going to give away some more stuff. I think that's what I'm going to do. In fact, because everyone's been so, so attentive today, I'm going to give away more stuff than I planned to. I was only going to give away.
I'm with you.
Yeah, I was only going to give away one sub of Sapphire, but I think I've got another name in my tombola.
Yeah, I'm ready. Anyone who's stuck with us through these audio issues, definitely worthy of the second prize. I'm ready.
Absolutely. And if people don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about my giant tombola, do Google Ben's giant tombola, and you will see. All right, and in the meantime, let's pull up the next name that's going in. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to see this, so I'm going to have to use the magic of my mind. We're going to be giving away a 1-year subscription to Sapphire, and the lucky winner is going to be
Tang, Katay Tang, and I apologize if I'm butchering your surname, but Katay Tang has won an annual subscription to Sapphire. Congratulations, Katay.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Katay. Katay?
Katay?
Maybe. Maybe. Well, congratulations to you. We'll be in contact with you very shortly in the next 24 hours to tell you how you can claim your prize. But there's one more little prize that I want to give away as well. And that is the Boris FX suite. That's everything that we make, including Sapphire that you've seen today, but also Continuum, Mocha Pro, Silhouette, and Optics as well. And that's going to one other lucky winner. So the tombola is spinning. What do we have going on here? So right, we're pulling out that second name. The tombola spins, and the winner of Boris FX Suite is Brian. No, not Brian, but Brian, take it away.
Max Fetterman. Congratulations, Max.
Max,
Annual
well done.
subscription to the Boris FX Suite. Congratulations, Max.
That's awesome. Well done, Max. Well done. We knew you had it in you. I don't know. How did these people win such amazing prizes? Well, do you know what? All they did was go to borisfxlive.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and add their name in. And do you know what? If you didn't win today, that's fine. We've got another opportunity coming very shortly with our super secret live stream that's happening on the 11th of April, he says. Hoping
Tuesday,
that
April
is in
2 p.m.
Tuesday, April 11th.
Can't talk
Yes,
about
at
it.
2 p.m. So this is a very, very secret live stream. You're going to want to be there. In fact, it's so secret, I don't even know what it's about. So I'm going to be there just to find out what's happening.
Tune in to see
All
if I
right.
can solve the audio problems in 2 weeks.
And
April 11th.
and yes,
TikTok.
tick, indeed, as you say, talk. All right. I just want to say thank you very much to our guest, CM de la Vega. CM, do you have any last little things that you would like to plug? I know we've talked a little bit about the aemastercourse.com.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Plugging my After Effects course. If you are wanting to learn After Effects, this is the best mentor. We talked about mentorship and finding mentors. This is a really good mentor tool for those people who want to really master the fundamentals of After Effects. Also, the YouTube channel. You can follow me on YouTube and Instagram as well. And yeah, if just for those who are wanting to learn After Effects, motion graphics, are starting out, definitely, keep doing it. The journey is long, but be patient, persevere, just don't give up, and for those who want to pick it up as a second skill, definitely check out all the resources that I have on my YouTube channel. It's an awesome, fun software to learn After Effects, and definitely Sapphire is a great collection of plugins that will really take your work to the next level really quick.
Thanks very much, Sam, for joining us today. It's been really great to talk to you. Hopefully we'll have you back on again soon. We'll talk a bit more. I'm sure we haven't delved depths yet. All right.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Sam, thank you very much. I want to also say thank you very much to Brian in Mission Control for helping to steer this ship today. And I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has been watching us through, despite a couple of the technical problems. I hope you found it enjoyable. Well, my name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. This is Boris FX Live, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye for now.